Chickadee check, check, check. Checking if this mic is on. I think it's on. I think we're good. Let's roll. Here we go. What's up, friends? Welcome to The Beautiful Mess, where we talk about tools and tactics to improve your life. I'm your host, Paul Dittis, a YouTuber, content creator, and all that good stuff. Okay, so today is a very special episode because I'm going to do something unusual to prove a point. It's kind of meta. So we're talking about this idea that limitations are actually good for you if you apply them correctly. So for example, I have a limited time before dinner starts. So I asked my wife, hey, before dinner, can I record a podcast? And so she said yes. And so I am basically recording as quickly as I can this episode for you. Not necessarily quickly, but within this time frame. And I think a lot of times that people have this issue with getting started on something because they think, oh, it's going to be this lengthy process. You're not going to have enough time to get started, or you don't have enough time to get that thing done. But many times it's just that failure of initiative, or that failure of recognizing the space of time available to you to get that thing done. I could have been like, hey, it's only 20 minutes till dinner. I should probably do something else. But I was like, hey, it's 20 minutes till dinner. That's plenty of time for me to record this episode for you and to talk about the importance of working on your creative projects and being able to set those deadlines for you so that you can get more done. You'll be amazed if you favor action. And this is what we talked about in a recent episode, action versus kind of that, like the feel good, like researching something. Let me see if I can find it. Like basically where you have the sense of being in motion. And so like my encouragement to you is just take action. Like I could be researching 20 different topics for this podcast episode, but sometimes you have to favor action. And one of my favorite books, and let me tell you, maybe I'll do it this week or the next week, but I'm planning to make a downloadable for you to check out, or just like a resource where you can see like the top 10 books that I found this year. And if that's something that's of interest to you, I'm hopefully going to have a link in the description. If not, it should be coming soon. So be on the lookout for that. The top 10 books that I found this year that have helped influence me, because there are definitely books that have been a great influence. And we're coming to the end, and I'm one book away. About 11 days left in the year, and I'm about one book. I'm already in the midst of reading one. Should I give you a hint of what it is? Why not? So the current book that I'm reading is Disrupt You. And it talks about like these different businesses that this person started and how it's important to be a disruptor. He I guess like invented this machine for voters, not voters, a lottery machine for people to interact with it, to encourage people to buy lottery tickets, I guess. But he ended up not winning. Like there was a competition to see who could make the most ingenious product. He did a great job, probably went above and beyond the other people, but it wasn't like, I guess they didn't see the application. Maybe it was too expensive to produce. However, that failure turned into a big win for him. He realized that there was a need at airports for kind of like an information kiosk, because the person that was at the desk, this is probably back in the 90s or around then, but there couldn't be someone there all the time. Maybe they need something in different languages. So he uses this interactive machine that he made for buying lottery tickets for the advantage of tons of people that come to the airport and need directions, need to contact, someone for like the car rental places and whatnot. So he took a failure and turned it into a major success. And that's so much like in life, you have those moments where something doesn't quite go the way you want it. And maybe that's not the end of the story. Maybe there's another chapter. And sometimes you need to fail forward. Like we talk about This is a Beautiful Mess podcast. There's a lot of times in life where you have many opportunities available to you, but how do you choose the one that's going to be enriching for you? There's many different things trying to get your attention that want you to buy this, do this. And I think sometimes it's important to take that step back and look at life in a simple lens. Like, do I really need this right now? I'm a big fan of minimalism, as you know, if you listen to this podcast. And I think often we fill our lives with things that we believe we need, but we really don't. We really don't. We could live a lot simpler. We could do better with less. And some people have to do that, just by the nature of their life. They just don't have the means to buy many things. Some people do it by choice. You have people that live lives that are simple on purpose. And I think that what it comes down to, and I think like those experiences, you have people in those, different circumstances, and they can have drastically different outcomes based on how they accept that situation. Do you take complete ownership of your current situation? Whether it's good, bad, life gives you all of that. You're going to have moments where you're, feeling great on top of the world. And then you're going to have those moments where you're not as, things aren't going your way. You hit that failure. But the important thing is what you do with the failure in front of you that matters. Like this guy, I should find his name, Samit, is the author of the Disrupt You, Master Personal Transformation, Seize Opportunity and Thrive in the Era of Endless Innovation. I mean, you think about YouTube, for example. I'm a big fan of YouTube. YouTube had like a major pivot. They originally were a dating platform. They thought, it would be more interactive if people could have videos. And what they found was that actually people just appreciated being able to upload videos to a platform. And so they harnessed this idea. They didn't just say like, oh man, we're failing. Like this platform doesn't work. It's like, it's not the top dating site anymore. It's like, no, we just stumbled across like one of the greatest inventions ever, which now, I mean, who doesn't know about YouTube? Who doesn't use YouTube? So sometimes the failures that we perceive at the time as being like this terrible thing. I think the worst part is if you don't try. If you never try, then you'll like never know what would happen if you started that business. If you start a podcast, if you start a YouTube channel, think about those creative endeavors that you can do that if you never start them, will you be, regretting it later in life, and don't regret it later in life. Take ownership this moment, because that makes all the difference, is being able to determine what's, how you respond to those different circumstances, because life will throw at you all different things, but how you respond matters. And that's, I think, the message that I want to share with you today is just be open to starting something new. It doesn't have to take long. Think about like the minimum viable thing that you can do. So let's say you have a big project, like starting a YouTube channel. Instead of looking at it as like this massive project, like break it down. So let's break this down together. So if I were starting a YouTube channel, one of the things that I would need is a camera. Do you have a phone? That would work. Yes. Yes, it's nice to have a nice, mirrorless camera with a nice lens and all that, but you don't really need it. And especially with today's cameras on your phone, they're fantastic. Seriously. So like, just think of the minimum things that you need to get started. Eventually you might change that up. There's many YouTubers that, tell their story where they started out with, very low budget, but what they were good at was consistency. And that's that goes back, it's more important to get the thing done. So for example, this podcast, again, like, maybe tomorrow I wouldn't have time, but like I found this time. It's a gem. It's gold. Like your time is so precious. What are you going to do with it? Because, if you don't seize those opportunities, you're not going to, go as far as you could if you just like say, hey, this isn't the ideal circumstance. I would have loved to research for 30 hours before recording my, this episode. But the reality is it's important. Yes. But it's like, would I rather get another episode out there where I share the little nuggets and tidbits that I'm learning from reading my books, from experiencing life? I'd rather do that. And hopefully that benefits you. This journey of recording a podcast. I mean, we're on episode, what is this, 56? I think this is episode 56. And one of the biggest things for me is like, it's amazing that I've stuck with this for so long. Like, it's kind of like crazy to think back, like when I was first starting this out, like I didn't really know what was going to happen. I didn't know that I'd make it to episode 56, but you just keep the chain going. And this goes back to, I think it was Jim Carrey, some comedian who's like, don't break the chain. Let's see. I think actually I have Jerry Seinfeld. So this is a quote from Jerry Seinfeld. After a few days, you'll have a chain. Just keep at it, and the chain will grow longer every day. Your only job is not to break the chain, Jerry Seinfeld. So actually, this is shameless plug for Finisher's Secrets. This is what comes with I don't know if they're going to continue sending these out, but one of the journals that I was sent had one of these. Javier sent me one, and it's pretty awesome. What Javier is doing with the Finisher's Secrets, he's got these awesome journals. Highly recommend checking it out if you want to get done, if you want more done this quarter. And the other thing I'll say about what he's doing is like, he's not just focusing on, creating a nice journal for you to use. He's really intentional about like, how can I help you actually accomplish your goals? And one of the ways he's doing it, and I keep your eye on his website or sign up for his email list, because he's going to be doing what's called these focus sprints. And they're brilliant. I've definitely benefited from doing them. Highly recommend checking it out just to learn this technique, because let's be real, like in an hour, you're often bombarded by so many things. And it kind of goes back to this, the one thing book. And actually, that's my don't break the chain right now that I decided for my purposes is like, I wanted to every day, I'm going to ask myself the focusing question, which is, what is the one thing that I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? So again, that's the question from Gary Keller's book, The One Thing. So that's a focusing question. So I've been intentional about asking myself those things. He recommends blocking out 4 hours for getting that one thing done. I don't know if I've been able to block out 4 hours straight, but I've been decently good about like blocking out a couple hours here and there so that I can focus on like an intentional project, whether it's just, taking care of business for clients, or it's, doing different things that just need to get done. And you just like, but the reality is once you clear away the distractions that are taking you in different directions, once you can, put away your phone, it really sets the right mindset to get things done. Because I think the problem that most people experience is just having the issue of sitting down and doing the work. It's easy to, read about productivity tips. It's easy to, talk about it, but the hard part is sitting down and doing it. Like, for example, recording this podcast. And for many people, that's a hard thing. It's like getting that initiative that you need to press record. It's not going to be perfect. Right now, I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear my kids in the background. So it's like it's not the ideal circumstance, but hey, it's happening. It's happening, and you're here with me. And so like that intensity of focus just goes a long way. And so again, it's that domino effect, because dominoes can knock down something that's 50% bigger than the original. And let me tell you, multitasking is a lie. That's one of the quotes from Gary Keller's book, The One Thing. If you have that intensity where you can focus and just get those things done, you'd be surprised at how much you can get done. I'm telling you, there are so many times where I'm surprised at how much I'm able to get done in an hour, which would normally take me maybe 2-3 hours, just because it's getting interrupted by email, by all these other things that are good and need to happen. But because I'm giving my attention to various things, I'm not able to focus on the one thing, the most important thing in the moment. And I think what helps about asking yourself, what's the one thing? It's like, it kind of refocuses your attention, your energy into one. And once you kind of get that snowball effect, Dave Ramsey is big about the snowball, where you start with the small thing and then you pay off your next biggest debt. And I think it's similar with productivity. It's like where you can focus on that one thing, get that one thing done, then you can move to the next task. And I think you'll find that you get a lot more done. So instead of just having a to-do list, have a success list so that you can narrow down what's important in a day. And to be honest, maybe it's 2 or 3 things, maybe 1, and that's okay. You don't have to have a long list, and maybe it's better that way. But I think the moral of the story is that if you can find time for those few things, you'll often get around to the other things that need to happen as well, because you approach it with intentionality, not just letting life happen to you. And I think that's where things, it's so important to, So I think that's the moral of the story is get started. Let's say, you only have a small amount of time between now and your next thing that you need to do for the day. What's that one project that you really want to start? How much time do you have? What's the smallest task that you can do that will yield results? And taking action. We're not talking about researching or going on YouTube. We're talking about taking action so that you can actually have something done. If it's recording a YouTube video, maybe you actually hit record and record the intro to your YouTube channel. Maybe it's just like, hey, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is, the first video of hopefully many, and it's going to be an amazing ride. And I'm so glad you guys are with me. You could make it silly. You could make it whatever. But the biggest thing is that you made a step in the right direction. And who knows, maybe years later, when you go back and watch that video, you can laugh and just be like, hey, Mr. Beast has some of those videos where he's like, by this date, I'm going to have something crazy, back then sounded so outlandish probably. But now, Mr. Beast is one of the top YouTubers. He's way up there, probably number 2, number 3 for the most subscribers. If not number 1, very, very much. The guy's kind of an inspiration. He gives back a lot. He reinvests pretty much everything he earns into his videos. So, even though he's probably making a good bit from those videos, he's putting up nearly, crazy amounts into producing these videos. And that's why he's who he is. But if he didn't get started on YouTube, if he didn't start with those crazy videos, I think one of them was sawing a plastic table with, what was it? Those little knives, the plastic knives. So he sawed a table with plastic knives, and it took forever, but he had these big ideas, and he wasn't afraid of, looking crazy, or, he put in the effort. He sat down, he made those things. So what's your crazy idea? Why don't you get started on it? Let's stop this podcast. Well, before we do that, I'm going to invite you to rate, review, subscribe, and all that good stuff wherever you listen to podcasts. Would love to have you in the messy fam. So, YouTube especially. Subscribe on YouTube. But wherever you listen to podcasts, we're there. And if you wouldn't mind leaving us a review on, what is it called? Spotify, you can leave a review, and then Apple Podcasts. That's another big one. So would love to hear from you. And until next time, my friends, we did it. Dinner. I'm hearing the timer for the dinner. That means I need to go. So until next time, my friends, stay messy and get started. No joke. Go do it now. Go get started.